How's it going, everyone? This is Samir from PSR, and welcome to another video on my 2021 Toyota Camry TRD, my new daily driver, which I've now owned for a little over 3 months, and I have now driven nearly 4,000 miles. So I guess you could possibly say that the honeymoon phase is kind of past, though I don't know if I can quite say that. I still geek out over it all the time. I'm absolutely in love with this car. So today we're going to be discussing the 10 things I dislike about this car. Now, I actually struggled a little bit to come up with 10 things. You know, at first I was going to make it 5 things, but then I had 7 or 8 things, and I was like, that's not a nice round number. Let's try to find 2 more things and make it 10. And I managed to do just that. So the reason might be clear, but the reason I'm not making a 10 things I like about this car yet is because it's much more difficult to narrow down the 100+ things I love about it to just 10. Whereas, like I said, making a list of 10 things I dislike was much easier. So we're gonna start here. Now, I should note that these are listed in no particular order, not from worst to best or best to worst or anything. They're just in the order I decided to write them down and as they popped into my head. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start things off on the outside of the car. And this is something that is running rampant in the modern car world. It's a trend which I'm not a huge fan of, but it continues to persist. This car has fake vents, both front and rear. We're gonna start with the front. Obviously, I'm referring to this piece here. Now, the Camry has already has a huge grille, both underneath the main grille piece here, and then of course the lower grille. But most of that stuff is functional. There is a good probably 30 to 40% that's not functional up there in the front, but that's fine. We can kind of live with that. But these, which are just straight up fake, I'd rather have this be just straight up plastic or fiberglass or whatever they want it to be, just a nice smooth surface, than have this here. I mean, sure, you can get fog lights here, but I don't know. I'd just rather not have this here at all, to be perfectly honest. Now, the thing is, in the facelifted 8th generation Camry, starting for the 2021 model year, minus the TRD trim, every other trim has an even larger fake vent here. It's probably, I don't even know, 15 to 20% larger than this one. It takes up even more space here. And now, I'm thankful they didn't do that for the TRD. Now, carrying on with number 1 on this list, we're still on the fake vent subject. While the front vents may be fake, at least they kind of blend into the general aesthetic of the car. They go very well with it. Here, I can't say the same for the rear outlets. Again, fake. It is kind of cool how they kind of blend into the, I guess, boomerang shape that we got going on here. As you can see, this line follows into the taillight all the way through, and it kind of makes a boomerang. That is cool. However, it just doesn't look good otherwise. It does make the car seem kind of wide. It almost looks like, it has wider rear fenders than a standard Camry. But again, I'd rather just have this be real. In fact, if you guys know of an aftermarket company that makes genuine vents, which can replace these fake ones, or something, even if it doesn't end up actually being functional, as long as it looks as if it is, that's something I'd be very interested in. Okay, for number 2, we are now inside of my TRD, and there are a number of things in here which I dislike or that simply annoy me to a mild extent. Not very much, but they do make the list. Several things make the list. And the first thing was something that I noticed almost immediately after test driving the car. After exiting the test vehicle many months ago, I noticed this one thing, and it has to do with the seatbelts. Now, frankly, I love the seatbelts. I love that they're red. That actually was a factor. Them being red was a factor in me purchasing this car over other competitors. I know that sounds ridiculous. It's such a minor thing, but honestly, I think they're so cool. The problem comes when you take them off. So as you can see, this is how a seatbelt is supposed to look when you take it off of you. I mean, it's supposed to generally be lined up along with the B-pillar there, just pretty much parallel to it, exactly, nice and flat up against it. That's how I prefer it, at least. You might not care. This here is what happens when you take off the seatbelt and just kind of chuck it over there like you would in a normal car. You see how it folds up like this? I know, that's a relatively minor thing to most people, but that drives me absolutely batty. So when I do this, I have to go ahead and fix it. And pretty much it's this guy that's the problem. He catches onto the seat and it bends him that way. So you have to twist him back like so. So I've learned to pretty much at this point go very slowly and tuck him back there rather than just fling him back there. Now it's not terribly concerning. I guess there might be some worry about scratching kind of the plastic down here, but with constantly throwing the seatbelt over there, I don't know. I know it's a mild thing, but it bothers me. For number 3, we turn our attention to the center of the dashboard where you can see a lot of things are painted this gloss metallic black, which I'm pretty sure is the same as the black used on the exterior paint, which is midnight black metallic from Toyota, of course. It looks phenomenal. I think it looks nice and high-end, luxurious. Of course, it looks heaps better than cheap plastic would. Problem? You can see it. It's as dusty as can be. I mean, just take a look at this. Just take a look at how dusty it is. And this is after 2 days. 2 days after I last wiped down the interior. Now, obviously, if this bothers you enough, you can, keep wipes or some other cleaner in your car and take care of it. But just know, places, especially like behind the infotainment screen right there, as well as this little shelf on the passenger side, these are just going to get dusty regularly. For number 4, we step back outside the car to focus on the windshield here. Now, presumably, you guys have changed your windshield wipers before, or you've at least seen it done. It's typically easier to do when your windshield wiper arms are in the up position. So why don't we go ahead and put them in that position? Passenger side one, nice and easy. Driver side one, oh, yeah, the hood and the arm are positioned in such a way that this arm cannot go higher than this. So yeah, minor inconvenience. One time a year, maybe one time every other year, or every 18 months or whatever, but it's bothersome enough to be put on the list. Onto the side of the car for my 5th dislike. We are now halfway there. That is cleaning these wheels. Now, of course, these TRD spec wheels look phenomenal. The matte black paint, the 7 dual spoke design, it matches the car perfectly. They are a good size. I mean, I have almost no complaints about them, aside from this one thing, and that is cleaning them. As you can see, of course, they already have, a bunch of spokes, but they also have, these holes in each spoke. They have larger holes, they have smaller holes. They have kind of like dips or divots kind of here at the end, like towards the center of each, towards the center of the wheel in each spoke. Of course, you got, around the lug nuts, that's a problem. There are just so many things to clean about these wheels. You actually have to have a list going as you're making your way through. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this first, then this second. What I'd like to do is I go through these bigger and medium-sized holes all the way around, then I go through these smaller holes, then I go into these divots, then I go into the lug nuts, kind of work my way towards the center. It's kind of painful, but when you clean them, it's totally worth it. Speaking of cleaning the car, we have dislike number 6, and that is cleaning kind of under the Aero, under the aerodynamics. Now, this isn't problematic everywhere, but especially back here, right behind the rear tires, behind this piece, and the side sill extensions. Getting something down here to kind of wipe away water, especially down here in this corner, as you can see, it goes quite a way, and the human finger can't really reach all the way in there. You have to be very specific about how you use your microfiber towel, or maybe you even need a specialty tool to get all the way down in there. But as you can see, it can get pretty tedious to clean this. I mean, down here there's even some built up, dust, grime, dirt, whatever, and that's just due to how difficult it is to clean it. Yeah, here I am in the back seat for number 7, and the 7th dislike pretty much is that I hate that there's no rear center armrest. It's not that I spend much time back here, but this is a complaint I get from rear passengers, is that there's nothing to rest your left or right arm, depending on which side you're sitting on, when you're sitting back here. There are cup holders in the doors, but it would be nice to have something to rest your arm on. Of course, the cited reason for why there is no 60/40 rear split folding seats is I think it's a V-brace, it might be an X-brace, but I'm pretty sure there's a V-brace right behind the seats, and I'll show you that right now. So here we are in the trunk, and as you can see, there's nothing immediately visible. This is kind of the, I guess, carpet panel right behind the rear seats. You can fold this one over, though, a little bit to see this metal piece, and presumably that is part of the bracing. Now, I understand why the seats couldn't fold over because that's there. Though I don't really see why there couldn't be like a center outlet, but pretty much this doesn't tell us why there couldn't be at least a center folding armrest. I mean, they could just use half of the seat's width to place one there. The brace doesn't eliminate the possibility of having one, so that's definitely a markdown on this car. Number 8 on this list is relatively minor, and that's because it's not something that you're really going to notice all that often. It's kind of like the windshield wiper arm not coming up all the way. It's something that'll just come up occasionally. Most of the time, it'll just be out of sight, out of mind. Here's what I'm talking about. Right behind the infotainment screen, hopefully we can get a decent look at it. I'm hoping you can. Let's try from the other side. I'm sure from over here you can see. There is a gap back here, a very small, tiny gap between the infotainment screen and the dash. So you'd think it would just be like a solid block right here or something so that you wouldn't have to worry about it, but no, there isn't. So you can imagine cleaning this thing is an absolute pain. You can barely even get a pen back here, let alone a human finger. You're definitely gonna need a specialty tool to clean that, and that is why that is number 8 on this list. Number 9 on this list has to do with the center console. Now, one thing, I actually praise the Camry for the simplicity of its center console. They're getting just so complicated these days. I like this. We have cup holders, we have a shifter, we have a little storage cubby down here, we have a dash. It's just nice and simple, nothing super crazy. Maybe the design is a little bit more modern, but it's just nice and simple, and I like that about it. Now, as you can see, I actually have it I've shifted into drive, and that's to give us some more space to look at number 9, which is, I hate hate's a strong word, but I hate the size of this tray right here. Now, I imagine that tray, and I know it's kind of hard to see because of the lighting, I imagine that tray is to kind of store your phone in. I'm not sure exactly where the wireless charger is in the XSE Camry, but I imagine it's down here somewhere. Now, it works perfect for most phones. As you can see, I've got a Samsung Galaxy S20. You set it down here. It fits pretty much perfect. I mean, you've got just like, I don't even know, 1/4 inch between the end of the phone and the edge of the tray. It's perfect. It keeps it, you know, in there. It's a little grippy, and it's perfect for that. And of course, the Android Auto / Apple CarPlay USB port is right here. Now, let me show you the problem. So I got my little USB cable here. It's just a little 2-foot one. It's nice because I can just, you know, it's not too long, and I can just have it plugged into my phone right here, right next to the port. It's just perfect. The problem now is that with this plugged in, we lose that gap of space, and it ends up being so long that the phone no longer gets seated in there. So now it kind of shakes around. A little photo of my car there, that's cool. Now it just sort of shakes around while I'm driving. Not so much that it would actually fall out of this tray. It's just annoying that it's no longer seated perfectly. If it was just another 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch wider, this would fix my whole problem. So yeah, I dislike its width. It should be a little bit longer to account for this, because this isn't even that big of a phone. If you had, you know, like a Note or, you know, whatever they call them, the iPhone Pluses or whatever, you wouldn't even be able to probably seat them at all. It just needs to be a little bit wider. Instead of being wider this way, it should be wider this way. All right, guys, we made it to the end of the list. This is my 10th and probably biggest dislike of the entire car. I told you I didn't go in any particular order, but I decided to save this one for last because it bothers me that much. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to, you know, set it to the on position, or the ignition position, whatever it's called, just so I can open up the windows real fast. It's a little warm in here, but this will also show us something else. So as you can see, it's flashing at us. Let's get a little closer. As you can see, it's flashing not ready to drive at us, and that's going to be constant. Now, that is fine. I get it. You know, if someone gets into this car and they don't know how to start a car that doesn't have, you know, a traditional keyhole, that makes sense. Let's say you just want to sit here and listen to music, though, or just blow the AC or something like that, and you want this message to go away. You press the back button like it indicates up there, and then boom, it goes away, right? Well, give it 5 or so seconds, and then it comes right back. Now, this is incredibly annoying. It'd be one thing if the message was just there, but it's more annoying that it continues to flash. And no matter how many times you press the back button, it's going to come back. Count it, 5 seconds. Probably another 2, 1, go. Yeah, and there it is again. And this isn't the only screen that does this. So I've gone ahead and actually started the car. Now what I want to show you here is that you can turn off the traction control very simply. There's just a button over here to the left, you press it, and it'll give you a prompt that says traction control turned off. It's like, great, perfect, go away. Give it 5 seconds, and guess what happens? Just take a guess before it actually happens. Oh, what do you know? It came right back. That is so incredibly annoying. And as far as I can tell, there's no way to stop these messages from coming back. Obviously, Toyota is concerned about people driving with the traction control turned off. Not that you really need to have it off in this car, but no matter how many times you press the back button, it's just gonna keep making its way back. And that's the exact problem I have with this car. Well, everyone, we made it through the list. Those are the 10 things I dislike about the Camry. And as you can tell, some of those took some effort to come up with. A lot of them are very nitpicky. Some of them are things that you'll almost never have to deal with. For example, the windshield wiper arm. But they are downsides to the car. Now, the fact that none of these are really all that major, except for maybe the traction control message that continuously pops up. I mean, if you want to drive with the traction control off, you shouldn't have to be subjected to that message constantly, but I digress. But most of these things aren't a big problem, and that pretty much shows you just how good of a car this is, and really how much I enjoy it. It doesn't really matter how good it is. What matters is how much I specifically enjoy it, and I'm satisfied with my purchase. There's no doubt about it. I'm hoping to do a similar video to this, but one about the things I like or love about it. Like I said, there are numerous things I like about it. So I might have to clump some things, multiple things into like one category, or one like, or one love, whatever I end up calling it, to make it actually doable, to kind of show off everything. Or I might just go all out and show you every single thing I love about it. But that's for a future video. For now, I'll see you guys later.